Hello, everybody. My name's Ed. Got some old comic books for you. What I have here today is Captain America and the Falcon, issue 202 from 1976. This issue was written and drawn by Jack Kirby, and the inks are by, and I apologize if I say his name wrong, Frank Giacoia. And let's just kind of jump into it. Like I said, this is 1976, so you figure, Bronze Age, type comic. It's back in the days where, let's just look at the cover. They really tried to sell you the comic, by showing you either something that's going on in the comic or somehow, symbolizing what you may or may not get on the inside, and just really trying to sell it to you with crazy captions and things like that. Right on the cover, we've got this picture of like Cap sort of going through some sort of dimensional portal. He sees the Falcon fighting monsters, and on the other side of the portal, you see kind of a cityscape or whatever. Seeing that he's going into the whatever space dimension or whatever from our dimension. And of course you got the big blurb there: danger in a dark dimension. And then of course you've got the hard sell at the bottom: and if you think this is wild, wait till you see our sense-stunning story. Basically, at a splash page, we just jump right into it. We find Cap fighting with a couple of guys or whatever, and then we find out that these are basically the guards of a guy named Texas Jack. Texas Jack is this kind of oil baron stereotype, cliched of cowboy millionaire, and he talks with a hokey accent and everything like that. And basically, Cap's smashed into his penthouse because the Falcon has gone missing, and he thinks that Texas Jack may have been a witness, so he wants to question Texas Jack. Texas Jack, of course, tells him what he knows. Yeah, I saw your partner disappear. I'll help you go find him. So we go to the dark dimension, and we find out that the Falcon has been kidnapped. Him and his girlfriend have been kidnapped by this strange cult called the Night People, and they've kidnapped the Falcon and hypnotized him because they need someone to fight a monster for them. And it's whatever 12-foot monster that breathes fire and whatnot. And we learn that like I said, the Night People don't live on Earth per se. They live in another dimension. Anyway, Falcon goes off, fights the monsters, has a real tough go at it. We cut back to Cap over in New York, still trying to run leads, still trying to figure out what's happened. And in the meanwhile, he has to make a phone call. He calls Sharon Carter, who is his girlfriend at this particular time, and he's like, well, hey, honey, I, something's happened to the Falcon, so I can't come home yet. Sharon Carter is very upset about this because she hasn't seen Cap in a long time. She thinks she's being neglected. She's, all sad. She's lonely. And it seems like she basically cries herself to sleep because, Cap won't come home. And of course, Cap is all, what? Our friends are missing. I gotta find them, And he's like, oh, and, boo-hoo. Just kind of the sort of old-fashioned sort of soap opera type approach, We cut back to the other dimension. Falcon is almost out for the count, but he kind of snaps to, gets his bearing, and he basically defeats the monster by more or less just sort of ramming into him with all his might and knocking him off the asteroid that they're fighting on. We go back to Cap. Cap is just sort of standing around on the street, and the dimensional portal just sort of spontaneously opens up again, and Cap jumps in so he can go find whatever happened to Falcon, and Texas Jack follows him because he wants to be part of this adventure as well. And at the end, we get the hard sell of, buy next issue. Coming up, the bombshell climax, the next hackle-raising, pulse-pounding, nerve-twitching issue will give you the jolt of your life. Buy, see, read, Alamo 2. And that's basically it. Now, this comic probably would not be the first comic I would give to somebody to show how, say, important Jack Kirby was as far as the industry, as far as, showing, these are his great works that kind of changed everything. But I would give this comic to somebody just to show how even substandard Jack Kirby is still fun and entertaining and everything. Basically, well, let's address the first thing. First, I don't think it's, well, I'll just say it like this. Dialogue was not Jack Kirby's forte. A lot of places it's kind of clunky and stiff, and it doesn't really flow very well. It doesn't bother me I think it's a little bit more suited to some of his more out there works, his more cosmic things, the Eternals or the New Gods and stuff like that, where those ideas were supposed to be big and epic and sweeping, and to have people speak in these, really grand ways, kind of fits that material a little bit better than where you have these other characters who are a little bit more down to earth and live in New York and stuff, and they kind of speak in this kind of stilted manner. I think, compared to other writers who were around at the time, other people he's worked with, whether it's Stan Lee, whether it's Len Wein, whether it's Roy Thomas, whether it's, I don't know, Marv Wolfman, any of those other people who were around during the mid-70s, they were still able to have all the different characters, speak in individual ways, with their own individual speech patterns and things like that. I think Jack didn't succeed as often as he probably could have, But that's okay. That's okay. His stories are still very entertaining to me. You still have Jack Kirby, the guy that's going to throw lots of ideas in there, and then he's going to throw another idea in there, then he's going to throw an idea on top of that. Now, you could say with a character like Captain America, most people think of the character as being this, being the super soldier, being the ultimate fighting machine, You think of Captain America fighting terrorists, fighting Nazis, the odd bank robber, maybe a mad scientist or two. You really don't think of Captain America as a cosmic type character. But like I said, this is kind of where Jack Kirby's was at this point during the 70s, where he was dealing with lots of the science fiction ideas and things like that. Some of the other comics he was doing at Marvel Comics at that particular time was the Eternals, 2002, stuff like that. He was about to take over the Black Panther, and the Black Panther's going these kind of Raiders of the Lost Ark type adventures and whatnot. And so, yeah, he would put Captain America into these scenarios, going to the moon and fighting monsters or whatever. And I'm not disturbed by that necessarily. I mean, I like Captain America taking on, kind of espionage missions, but, hey, this is Jack. You're gonna tell Jack he can't do something with a character that he co-created, and it's just great. Now, like I said, you got the funky night people. You have their funky machinery. You got just these monsters standing around, and it just all has this crazy sort of anything goes feel. This sort of it's a comic book. It's all about engaging your imagination. It's all about having a crazy fun time, and Jack was able to deliver on that front. We have to remember that Jack pretty much was able to. Well, he pretty much did. Not that he was able to, but he pretty much did kind of invent the storytelling language for superhero comics that people followed for decades. The whole idea of pacing the story, how you would, build suspense, how you build suspense in a fight, how you would build up to climatic, points and things like that. That's all Jack Kirby, and I think even here he was still able to do it and, entertain the reader for the 17 pages that this comic book lasted. Now, if I would have a criticism, it would be maybe in the depiction of Sharon Carter here, just because, I know Sharon Carter as the, as a capable, hero on her own. She's a supporting character, but she's not necessarily the damsel in distress, type person. Whereas here in this particular issue, you wouldn't know that. She just seems to be like, the lonely housewife or the lonely girlfriend, I should say, and, I don't think it's quite condescending, but maybe somebody else who knows the more modern version of Sharon Carter might be a little bit disappointed. I would say though, if you're a fan of the Falcon, you would probably like this issue, just because you got to see the Falcon take on a monster twice his size and basically beat the monster bare-fisted even. It wasn't like he didn't have to have Cap come save him. He didn't have to do any sort of trickery. I mean, he basically beats a monster in a brawl, and that's what we got here. I think it's kind of interesting. One of the letters in the letters page is from somebody who signed his name as Steve Rogers from Lubbock, Texas, and he basically expresses a little disappointment with Jack Kirby's writing. Let me find the quote here. Here, can't someone convince Jack not to abandon all the carefully built-up characterization that has gone before? He seems to be chucking all of the old characters in favor of a completely new cast. Whatever happened to Sharon Carter? I fear for the Falcon since Jack just inherited him. Jack is still writing 1940s comics dressed up in just enough 1970s pseudo-relevance to cover up. And here's Jack's reply. Jack's reply is, whatever happened to Sharon Carter? That and other startling you know what I'm trying to say. Revelations, why can't I talk? Can be discovered by picking up each and every issue of Captain America, the magazine which dares to ask the question, can a 6'4" muscular blue-eyed blonde wasp superhero find love and happiness in the big city? Watch for the answer in future installments. And then he says, see you next month, serial fans. I think in a way that's true, but it's not true. I don't think that Jack was giving you 1940s stories. He was just kind of giving you sort of 1940s dialogue. But that's okay. That's fine. That's fine. Like I said, even here, a story that's maybe B-level Jack Kirby, it's not the New Gods, it's not the Eternals, it's not quite the stuff that he did on the Fantastic Four with Stan Lee, but it's still a cut above what a lot of people were doing during the day, and what I hate to say, some people do in modern times, whereas he was able to give you a fun adventure, even though it's part of a larger story arc. He was able to give you enough story, enough action, enough even, melodrama to entertain you for the 17 pages that they have laid out here. Okay, and I think that's basically it. I got to thank you very much for listening, and you all have a great day.